Welcome to CruiserCast, where we interview some of the most influential people in tourism from around the world. My name is Graham Watson, and I'm the founder of Cruiser Global. The word cruiser means a new dawn, and in 2023, we want to find out just how our guests are working towards that new dawn. Join us and subscribe to future episodes as we hope to inspire you with stories of strength and resilience in the tourism industry. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of CruiserCast. Today, I am privileged to have my guest as Mr. Ross Kennedy. Now, many of you know Ross, a stalwart of the tourism industry. Welcome, Ross.
Morning, Graham. Thanks. Morning, everybody, and thank you very much for having me on, Graham.
No problem. So, Ross is the chief executive of Africa Albida Tourism, and Ross, just the way we start off the podcast is just to introduce yourself and just tell all the listeners about your journey through the tourism industry all these years.
Sure, thanks, Graham. Well, all these years, there's a lot of all these years, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
November last year was 50 years since I first carried my first suitcase for somebody else, or counted empty bottles or counted potatoes or whatever at a hotel in Harare called the Jameson Hotel, which those who know anything about this part of the world was in its day the equivalent of Meikle's Hotel, of course, which would still be known. And I started there as a 17-year-old as a gopher, general dog's body. So it's been a long 50-year journey and mostly good.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about the Africa Albida family of products. You've got some great. Luckily, I mean, I've been very fortunate to stay at the Victoria Falls Safari Lodge, which is kind of your flagship property, and had very special evenings at the Boma. Yeah, just run through the different experiences you can have with Africa Albida.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, so in fact, the first product that we opened was in June '92. And that was Lokutula Lodges, which is started its life as a timeshare resort affiliated to RCI, 37 2- and 3-bedroom self-catering timeshare units. And that opened in June '92, the first phase. And then on the back of that, we started to build Vic Falls Safari Lodge, our 72-bedroom flagship, as you so rightly called it. And that opened in December '94. From then on, we carried on developing the second phase of Lokutula, which completed the 37 units. In October '94, we opened the Boma. It was called then the Boma Place of Eating, now called the Boma Dinner and Drum Show. But that was October '92, because to be affiliated to RTI, the international timeshare exchanges, we had to have a food and beverage facility on site. So that's how it came to pass. And it subsequently, of course, turned into one of Southern Africa's must-do tourism experiences. And we've had well over 1.2 million diners have come through there since then.
Yeah.
Later on, August 10 years ago, we built a new build between Lokutula and Safari Lodge. We built the Victoria Falls Safari Club, our 20-room premium brand. And so that was 10 years old in August last year. And about 7 years ago, we took 6 of the Lokutula lodges, the first 6, and converted them into our luxury family suites called Victoria Falls Safari Suites, which are 6. And so that was the journey up to pre-COVID. We then started building Victoria Falls Safari Spa 5 weeks before COVID came along.
Yeah.
And had to stop. And then May last year, we pressed the go button again, and we completed that spa in November last year. And it is magnificent and getting really good feedback, and the trade and the guests who use it, not only our guests. The spa is open to all of the town, all of the hotels and accommodation providers in town, and it's going very, very well. So that's where we are up to now. And then we in the 6th of January, we immediately started the full refurb of all 72 rooms at Safari Lodge.
Wow.
So it is ongoing, never ending. Yeah.
Oh, you've got some great views from there. I've definitely sat on a room balcony with a bottle of wine. I won't say a glass because everybody knows it's a bottle. And
Correct.
and watch the sunset. You've got the fantastic watering hole, and it really is. I would say one of the great things about Victoria Falls. I first went to Victoria Falls in 2004. I remember staying at the Backpackers Lodge with a very dear friend of mine, and experienced it for the first time. We did the heli flip and all that kind of stuff. How much, certainly in the last 20 years, I'd say it's grown and changed a lot. It's gone from being a 2-night destination to at least a 3-night destination, I'd say. What have you noticed in particular about the growth of the town in the last 20 years or so? Even 30 years.
Yeah, sure. So we started there in 91. So yes, the growth has been significant in 32 years. What's interesting is that at the time that we built, we had more than a few people in the trade say to us, "Oh my word, but you're building so far out of town." Well, it's 3.7 kilometers from the actual Victoria Falls itself. Yeah. And of course, now the town has come to us, so to speak.
Yes.
We are, effectively on the edge of town. Yes, the growth has been significant. And even in the last 2.5 years, including part of the COVID period, another 600 bedrooms have been added in the Victoria Falls accommodation sector, between places like Palm River Hotel to other 12, 16, 18 bedded lodges. So the room stock is significant, and to your point of the length of stay, which is extremely relevant, it's something we've been working on for many, many years. When we opened, the average length of stay in Vic Falls was 1.25 nights. And we're now up to 2.7 and growing.
Yeah, good.
So it really is it needs to be a 3-night destination. It really does. Guests need to settle. They need to relax. They need to enjoy. And in actual fact, one of the things that we talk about here amongst the operational staff and the sales and marketing and PR staff is, please don't forget that you're actually on holiday or vacation or whichever the word is that different parts of the world uses. It's not just in, out. Guys, remember that you're on holiday, and it's such a beautiful setting, a natural setting, a wildlife setting, in a wonderful estate, that you need to take time to that current buzzword, chill.
Yeah. No, it's definitely there's so much to do. I mean, with your Boma dinner, the sunset cruises, there's just, I don't want to name certain things because I'll definitely forget others. But I was there about a year ago, I think, for the Africa's Eden show, which was fantastic and hosted.
Correct. Yeah. And, almost exactly a year ago. February.
Yeah. So I mean that was actually the first trade show, and I remember, it's very emotional because it was the first trade show after COVID, the first time that many of us had actually seen each other in at least 2 years, physically seen each other. So it was a very special time. How did you find the first Africa's Eden?
It was brilliant, Graham. Those things that you mentioned there, the connection with people, that in many cases one is known for years, and in some cases, of course, newer people in the trade and people from different source markets. And I think one of the key things that I certainly remember about that is that after the first half of day one, most people stopped wearing masks. And and we became real again. You knew who you were talking to. You could hear who you were talking to.
Yeah.
And I think you remember that final night show.
Yes.
That final night event on the river was, by anybody's standards, world class.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Cape Town or anybody else would have been proud to have put that thing on and been proud of having it take place, and done on a budget that other cities may have viewed as being a pittance. But because of the nature of the tourism community in the Falls, and because of the nature of the energy and enthusiasm of the tourism collective in AE, that was a resounding world-class success. And of course, we had the next one in Kasane about a month ago.
Yeah.
No, not a month ago. It was pre-Christmas, and again, it was fabulous. And people already asking about the next one in Livingston.
Yeah, no, I mean, Gillian Blackbeard's doing a great job. I'm hoping to have her on as a guest soon as well to talk about all the great work she's doing in the area. So, and you've assembled a fantastic team of people. I mean, I remember meeting Wendy Bourne about 12 years ago, probably now, in the USA. And Wendy's one of those people that you don't forget. And so well done on snapping her up, because she's definitely a good ambassador for you, as is Cindy Sheedy, and Bryony and everybody else that I've dealt with at your company. You've got a good group of people and good ambassadors that go around the world for you.
Thank you, Graham. I take that with great pride, and we are very proud of the team. Talking about getting people like that. In fact, in January, Wendy had been with us for 20 years.
Wow, yeah.
We have something that I value highly, is that we have a lot of people in our team across the operational team in the Falls and here at head office, who have been with us between 20 and 30 years. We did a long service award in the Falls the week that we opened the spa in February. And amongst those awards, there were 3 more people who received their 30-year awards, and another 6 who received their 25-year awards. And I always take that as a great compliment of who we are, of our ethics, of what the company is, of what we stand for, our role in the community, etc. So, thank you. We are very proud of that.
And Ross, how active are you in the actual Victoria Falls and Zimbabwean tourism sort of bodies? I know I was lucky enough to be on the board of SATSA for many years, so I know the great work that these bodies can do. How involved have you gotten in the past? In the corporate bodies that run tourism?
Sure, Greg. The simple answer is a lot. Sometimes it feels like too much. But yes, we've always played a role in not only in Big Falls, but in the national body. So the equivalent of SATSA, the Tourism Business Council of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
The Hospitality Association of Zimbabwe has, the Chefs Association, through COVID, Arnold, our GM, was co-chair of the Big Falls COVID Crisis Committee. We're involved in all of those industry bodies. Wendy is very, very active with ASTA, the Association of Zimbabwe Travel Agents. And a saying that was approved a few years ago, and I believe fits our role in the industry, is that as a relatively small, privately owned company, we punch way above our weight when it comes to contribution to the sector, engagement with ministries, engagement with the SBA, and roles on such bodies. So it's required. It's a community that that needs that, and that the whole destination benefits from it. So, we were Africa Albida was a concept that was born right here in this office at my desk between myself and Dave Glynn in December 2019, pre-COVID in actual fact.
Wow.
Then COVID came along and it took on a much greater importance. Of course, it turned into the very thing you were talking about just now.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we've been involved in creating gotovictoriafalls.com, the early beginnings of what's now We Are Victoria Falls, the official destination management association. We always have and we always shall contribute in that manner. As one gets a bit older, one prefers to be in the background.
Even I'm starting to feel that way. Don't worry about it. Direct traffic as opposed to being in it. Yeah, for sure. And so how do the three countries work together, or even the four countries that are in that area? Obviously, the two different sides of the falls, Zimbabwe, Zambia, then you've got Botswana so close by, and there's a lot of Chobe day trips. How does the four countries and Namibia, do you meet a lot, or is it kind of just quite isolated in terms of each country doing their own thing?
So that zone, that area, of course, is founded on the CASA, the Transfrontier Park. But the bottom 2/3 of Angola, which is the fifth CASA country, does not yet have any tourism. It's a massive unexplored part of that region, and that's for reasons within Angola itself. The other four countries, so all five countries are part of CASA, and CASA are actually doing some research right now about what they are, what they should be, what benefits do they bring, etc. So we're liaising with them. Africa Albida was born out of that, and of course and it is particularly the four countries, because Angola, the tourism that happens in Angola happens in the north and on the coast.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in the bottom 2/3 of the country. So the other four countries have always liaised well. Normal, natural, healthy, competitive issues prevail, but the level of cooperation, the level of engagement has been high for some years. We work a lot, particularly Zim and Zambia and Zim and Botswana, on the cross-border traffic for tourists, the efficiencies, the visas, the time delays, the process. We're trying to make all those borders much more user-friendly and efficient and healthy and clean and.
Yeah.
And Cindy Sheedy, in fact, in our sales marketing and staff session we had in the Falls a month ago, in one of the conversations, raised the issue of easeability of doing business, and that from tourist arrival to official at the border to all things. So easeability and user friendliness are two things that within the AE grouping of those countries, that's what we're trying to engender, that culture of there's an old Disney word called co-competition, where you cooperate with your competitor.
Yeah. Well, that's I think what's taught us all, and that's definitely something that I have since I started my own business about 3 years ago now during COVID. Working, as you say, working with competitors is something that I think that's the way to do it, because the rising tide raises all the ships, and it's important. So what did you put in place? I mean, everybody, it's coming up to the 3-year anniversaries now, and I'm kind of being taken back to all the chaos and the confusion 3 years ago. Describe your journey, not the whole 3 years, of course, but just how did you start? How did you, Africa Albida, and the Victoria Falls Safari Lodge, how did you start putting things in place? How did you cope with all the lockdowns and staff and all that craziness?
Yeah, Graham, it was the most terrible time. We just come off our 3 best years in our history in terms of 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah, the last quarter of 2019, arrivals had started to slow down, which is why we were even talking about the concept of what subsequently became Africa's Eden. But fortunately, we'd had those 3 wonderful years. So it came as a massive shock to suddenly, bang, at the stroke of a press conference on TV.
Yeah.
He told, this is coming at you, and to be told to close the doors. My memory tells me it was the 28th of March.
Yeah.
And so what that calls for is, after initial shock and trying to understand what is this thing, what is this COVID thing, and in this very boardroom, I can remember sitting around and saying, okay, this will be 4 weeks, this will be 6 months, this will be, the guy everybody around the table with. Well, of course, we learned quite quickly that it was not going to be a short-lived thing.
Yeah.
And so then you have to just take a step back and make clear, firm, practical, pragmatic, tough business decisions. And that's what we started to do. And the sooner you make them, the quicker you cut costs, the quicker you get your whole operational style into being with the problem. And it does. It calls for some tough decisions, particularly where it involves your colleagues and employees. And obviously, everybody, a community like the Falls, 98% of income in the Falls is derived from tourism.
Yeah.
So whether you work as an assistant in a clothing retail shop or a waiter in a takeaway, if there aren't any tourists, then there isn't any income.
Yeah.
So the community came together very quickly with outreach programs, with feeding programs, with caring for kids programs. Got involved with the Ministry of Health for COVID testing centres, extreme COVID treatment rooms, at least at clinics, and we just continued we made decisions for the first 3 months, and then as it became clear that it was getting worse and worse and that there was nobody coming, we then made decisions for the long term, and that meant putting the whole estate into a care and security status. We had 311 staff when COVID came, and at the very worst, we were down to less than 50. And one tries to do what one can for everybody and everybody else, and we've never asked any of our staff to do what we won't do ourselves.
Yeah.
So cuts to income, cuts to everything apply from top to bottom. We've always done that. And that way, and because we have a history of people being with us a long time, people bought into that journey. And we come out the other end as we have, with many of the same people still with us. And everybody's back on full incomes as of some months ago now, last year.
Yeah.
Starting to reinvest in training, reinvest in people, reinvest in the product. And then, of course, having to re-engage, reinvest in the whole sales, marketing, and PR side of the business to get it going again.
Yeah.
So those early decisions were the ones that made the difference to survival and cost cutting. So and yes, during that time, the grass didn't look pristine anymore. The gardens didn't look pristine anymore. The monkeys and baboons played havoc with our thatch. But we did what we needed to do from a maintenance, security, and care program, and to be able to put ourselves back into shape to open again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I had Cindy Muller from Gold Restaurant on as a guest on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she said, and a lot of other people as on the podcast have said that history will judge, those businesses on how they treated their staff during the bad times, and I believe it. I think that people will seek out to work with property and businesses that manage to treat staff as best they could and fairly. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So a good observation she made.
Yeah. And then, as you said, working with competitors, I think that there was no room for high horses, certainly in the industry. Everybody got onto the same level in terms of not knowing what was coming in the future. But thankfully, I think it's been a few weeks or a few months now that we're able to look back. I think we threw it. I think we can all start breathing out and saying, right, that's done. That's over with now. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. And what does occur these days is that people say, do you remember so and so, or do you remember this event? And I have got into the habit of saying, sorry, COVID memory took over. That's back there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's something that I'm doing. I'm talking about it now, but I think that it'll certainly become a thing that of which we do not speak. I think in the future, none of us want to relive any of the things. But it's
real.
You just have to find the positive, I think, in it, and
very much so.
and try and move on.
Many of the lessons that we learned and or taught ourselves through that COVID period that relate to cost cutting, to efficiencies, to productivity, are very well learned lessons that now are helping us shape the future of the business.
Yeah.
And that won't stay.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing. I mean, we learned a lot that is now going to go forward in terms of sustainable tourism and eco-friendly tourism and all that kind of stuff, and how we can all move forward for that. What do you think the lasting difference will be? What is the tourism industry in the Victoria Falls region learned, and that you think will just carry on being implemented for the foreseeable future?
So certainly the sense of community, which was always there, but in good times, people are very competitive and start to, a lot of people, not everybody, and start to only think about them and their zone and their staff and etc. COVID reminded people that that is not the right way, and so I think the sense of community, the sense of putting destination first, and your product, your property, whatever second. Now the fact is that for me is what people should will be the lasting benefit, if I can call it that, from the impact of COVID. And a lot of those programs, a lot of the community outreach and training and contribution, those are continuing in different ways. But it also got a lot of people involved who had never been involved before. It got companies talking to each other that had never spoken much before, because of highly competitive nature of certain people or businesses.
Yeah.
And those will be the good things that will be held on to. And as you will know, because you've seen our presentations a number of times, and you've seen Wendy presenting in America and all over the world, our presentation starts with a map of Africa. Then that map, the next slide is the map of Southern Africa. The next slide is the map of the Kaza region.
Mm.
Only then does the map come to Victoria Falls. And only then does the map move to our product. Because if people don't know where they're going, if people don't know their geography, if people don't know anything about the destination, they're not coming to your property anyway.
Yes, yeah.
So you can't start with your property and then try and build backwards. You have to start with enticing people to Africa, then to Southern Africa because there's so much competition, then to our little region, and then to our wonderful country, then to our wonderful destination, and finally, and by the way, we have 5 businesses there.
Yes.
And so that's an important thing. And the other part I think that will come out of COVID is that the 10, 12, 16, 21 day safari, staying in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different camps and lodges in 3, 4, 5 countries. I think that model will have changed. It is changing. We are now seeing people doing 8, 9, 12, 14-day itineraries just in Zimbabwe. One, because access is improved, but 2, because it means you're crossing a border, a port of entry once.
Yeah.
And it's the ports of entry that COVID have shown us where people don't want to be for longer than they need to be. So getting more and more access, which Victoria Falls is, in the region, and there can be now the road crossings.
The bridge.
Aeroplane crossings.
Yeah.
So, the bridge to Zambia, the road to Kasane and to Kazangula and into Namibia. The drive to Wangi. We now have internal flights starting. In fact, tomorrow I'm going on the first fast-jet flight from Harare to Kariba.
Yeah.
They're doing a trade preview flight tomorrow for the day, and I think it's about 25 of us they're taking up. And those go commercial next week. And then Mac Air will be doing the distribution of people from Kariba to all the Kariba camps and the river and the lower Zambezi. And then they start the following week, Big Falls to Wangi on fastjet, and Mac Air doing the same thing, a caravan or 2 caravans positioned to distribute people to the camps and lodges in Wangi. So we're seeing that change. For me, that will be a big change for the next 5 or so years of tourism. That those 4 or 5 country, 8, 10 camp and lodges, 2 nights. People need to slow down. People need to take the value from the destination, from the community they're in, from the culture, absorb much more than they used to on a hop. And also, give back and just relax a bit. Actually enjoy these wonderful places that we're blessed to have in this part of the world. Yeah.
I'm very encouraged to see the increase in air access, in particular. Fastjet's doing some great work, even internally within Zimbabwe. So I'm sure that'll help. They're doing Wangi as well, aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah.
So and then we've got more international access. We've got KQ coming in, we've got Ethiopian coming in, we've got Lufthansa coming in 3 times a week by Windhoek. There are more international airlines talking to us at the moment. Us being civil aviation airport company in Zimbabwe and a private sector body that's working with them. And there's something in the order of 10 airlines who are currently engaged talking to the relevant authorities about flying in here, including some exciting European source market airlines.
Oh, fantastic.
So for the region, that will be absolutely wonderful. You can get from Cape Town to Big Falls 7 days a week.
Yeah, awesome.
Or vice versa. You can get from Harare, from Namibia, from Zambia, from Botswana. So that air access is moving. You can get from Big Falls to KMIA. So if you're doing south and then coming to the falls, you don't have to go to Joburg if you don't want to or need to.
Yeah.
So those that air access map and the growing number of routes and flexibility.
Yeah.
Fly in from Frankfurt on Lufthansa, spend a few days in Namibia, and then come through Botswana, Zimbabwe, Falls. Zambia, whatever you're doing, and then fly down to Cape Town and then fly home from Cape Town.
Yeah.
The days of flying a circuit route and a return ticket on airlines to the same place, I think are largely gone unless you're going on business. For leisure travel, much more flexibility, choice for the traveler.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just hope that the one-way fares start coming down a bit, because that'll make it a little easier. Yeah, I think in the UK with the train fares, they're trying to get in a law where a one-way has to be exactly half of a return. So let's hope airlines.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how airlines going to implement that, but I think it would make life a lot easier.
I think what COVID has taught us about all forms of commercial travel, Graham, is that market forces will prevail.
Yeah.
People will vote with their feet.
Yeah.
People will vote with their wallets. So I'm over there in a couple of weeks' time, and for a family wedding, and then I'm staying on for a week doing the 3 ATA dinner events in Tottenham, Manchester, and Brighton. And so I've been looking up. Do I jump on a train from Tottenham to Manchester for the second one? Do I get a private car? Do I hire a car? Do I whatever? As it turns out, I'll be driving with Chris Mears from ATA.
Oh, wonderful!
He's driving them all, but so that's looking at air tickets and at train tickets and thinking, what?
Yeah.
How much do you want to travel from here to there?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Train tickets are more than air tickets. I mean, to get somewhere, it's like £150 return to get to London from anyway. Yeah. But let's hope that all forms of travel are found a way to come down to allow people to get around a bit more. You had some great advice earlier about looking at the destination as a whole and then drilling down. What other advice would you give to a young entrepreneur in your region trying to start new businesses? Looking back over your 30 years plus in the industry, 50 years, you said, you've had a lot of issues. I mean, Southern Africa is certainly no stranger to upheaval and trouble. But you've managed to obviously come through it. So what advice would you give?
The first advice I would give is that if you starting out and you view tourism as just as a business, like you're looking at buying a fuel station or starting a fuel station, whatever, then you're probably in the wrong business in the first place. Because our industry requires you to have passion. It requires you to have understanding of people, and all people from, first of all, your staff and your colleagues, and secondly, the customer. It's not the number, it's not just a math game, it's not just, let's look at a business model, and if the business model makes sense, that's what I'm doing. If you've forgotten that then it's a heavily human-related business, or you don't have those skills, then stop looking early. If you do have those skills and you do have an understanding for it, and I can only use my example where 4 days after I left school, I was carrying suitcases and counting straws and bottles and potatoes at the junction. And I did that for 7 months to see if this really was what I wanted to do. Then from there, I went to hotel school for 3 years in the UK. So I had tested my own appetite for the industry first, but at somebody else's expense as a very low-paid gopher.
Yeah.
That's one of the key things I would advise is make sure that you really do want to be in our industry. It's a 24/7 industry, often clashing with normal lifestyle, social life. So when your mates are going to 21st and weddings, whatever, on weekends, nope, you're likely to be working.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, youngsters need to understand that part of what our industry is. And the other part is that, for which I'm delighted. When I started in the industry, and friends and friends, families, whatever, then sort of almost said to my parents, it was almost what I could hear in their voices was, oh, dang, Ross isn't doing law or medicine or going to work for a bank or whatever. Oh, he's gone into the hotel business, like he can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Now, the hotel business in the 50 years has changed an awful lot. Being a GM of a top class resort or a hotel or a hotel in London, let me tell you, you need to know as much as any smart businessman ever knew.
Oh yeah.
As well as the people. And it's our industry, very fortunately and correctly, now has respect amongst other professions.
Mm.
In many cases, a GM needs to speak 2, 3, 4 languages.
Mm.
A sales and marketing person needs to have been around the block and done various jobs in various sectors, building relationships. And if you can't do that, then you're again likely to be in the wrong business.
Yeah, it's amazing how important relationships are in this industry, and certainly COVID taught us that. It's
value of, yep.
The network is your net worth. I love that saying, and you have to get you have to get your network right in order to. I think that's the core of any successful business. With all the positivity going on in the Gaza region in terms of access and just general upswing of business, what would you like to see still change and happen?
The key things that we've been looking at, focusing on, and encouraging, and through our involvement in industry bodies, making the borders as slick and as smooth as possible. Make them as user-friendly as possible. Remove visa fees. Now, I know that our 3 neighbors have all announced, and in fact now Mozambique as well, have announced waivers, removal of, we won't charge for 2 years. We've dropped all visa fees. So, those are statements that are easy to make. Implementing them is not always the same. Make those decisions, implement them properly, and be very clear with all your ministries and officials, and that, okay, with this date effective midnight, whatever you've announced, there are no more visa fees for these 20 countries. Don't allow the guest now to be standing in a queue to be told he's got to pay a visa, and then only when he argues is, but I've got this. Yes. Stop that stuff. Let's get the bureaucracy right. Let's make borders quick and efficient and clean. Ports of entry, all kinds. When I say borders, all of our ports of entry and borders, whatever they may be, land or sea or air.
Yeah.
And on a competitive individual basis, then at least be better than your neighbour's side of the border. Then people can say, wow, we've just been in 3 countries. The airport in Harare and the border at Kasane, whatever it may be, it was super slick. And it was clean and hygienic, and the officials were welcoming, etc. Throughout the destination of AE, particularly, all of us, because of it, all of us are working on those things. Let's get the SADC or CASA visa done and finished once for all. The MOU was signed about 15 years ago.
Unbelievable.
And all we have is the Zimzam uni visa.
Yeah.
Let's get the CASA or SADC visa done and dusted and get it out there, across the world. Not only are we a wonderful part of the world, but we are an easy part of the world to visit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. When traveling around, all I remember as forms. You just got to fill out so many forms. Yeah, so it's like what, and then the forms get chucked into a box, and you're just like, what? Who's gonna flip and look at that form ever again? So it's yeah. So if they just get away with the form filling, I think that would be a good start. And yeah, it's I think modern technology. I mean, it's 2023. Having to write something down on a piece of paper is, it should all be done online beforehand. It's yeah, and I went to Uganda actually last in October. Their visa application form, yeah, that's all done online, and when you get to the airport, it's just printed out and stuck in your passport, and off you go. It's quite a simple, easy process, because all your paperwork, there's no such thing as paperwork anymore. It's all computer work. So you fill everything out, and then off you go, which makes a lot more sense, because then it's stored. It's
and also if to make sure that the PR is out there about that way. Make sure that the travel industry are advising their clients correctly. If you then choose to arrive at a border without having done that, well, then step aside and fill the form in.
Yes.
But don't question why the other 40 people are passing through, because they did this.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that sometimes is not done so well, that these decisions are made, but they're not publicized very well.
Yes, yeah.
It's not passed on.
Yeah.
The efficiency of IT at remote border posts to ensure that 24/7 bank swipe machines are working. That there is internet for people who need to download, or people who need to be in comms. Those kinds of things, so that you can't get the bank swipe machines are not working today because the system is down. So you quite need cash. All those things that are irritants to a traveller. You want to get where you're going and relax as soon as possible.
Yeah, look.
And on the way out,
yeah,
you want to leave with that lasting impression of what a wonderful time.
Yeah, look, it's all about technology. It's all about I think something as basic as internet access. A lot of things come out of that. Yeah, so I mean, thanks so much. We'll just a couple more questions. What do you think it's taught you about yourself the last few years of turmoil that we've all been through? You've had 50 years in the industry. Is there anything that you learned about yourself that you didn't already know?
Well, yeah, one, I suppose, resilience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And utter requirement to be able to think differently and on your feet, and clear decision making that needs to be done. Yeah. Not today, tomorrow. It needs to be done now, this hour.
Yes.
Which that COVID certainly brought about. And the level of competition that is out there now. I mean, the last year between Zimbabwe and Zambia is the last 2 years. There's close to 1,000 new bedrooms between Livingston and Big Falls in the last 2 years. So, understanding that competition comes in different ways and forms. It's not just us versus that hotel and that hotel. The market may think that, but the market also chooses with their wallet. So, one's learned to be much more wide thinking about who might be eating our lunch or stealing a customer or stealing the market share. It's not the obvious. There's a block of 6, 12, 18, 20-bedded bedroom lodges and B&Bs, all over Big Falls and Livingston. And there's more coming.
Yeah.
Do not rest on your laurels. Ron Stringfellow, many, many years ago, when he left here and became boss man of Southern Sun, coined a saying, beware of return on ego versus return on investment, ROE versus ROI. And again, for people coming in the industry, very valuable lesson.
Yeah.
And another one, I'll give you back one on your network equals net worth, is that a saying that I learned probably 40 years ago. Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity.
Yeah, yeah.
And COVID again coming through, surviving, and being able to sit down and think, oh my word, we got through.
Yeah.
Recalibrate what's important, what really keeps the business alive, and what makes the difference to not only survival of your business, but the growth of your business. So those kind of lessons well learned, and about oneself and one's former thinking.
Yeah. Well, Ross, it's been phenomenal catching up with you as always again, and thanks so much for being a guest. I'll let you know when this goes out, so your team can do some work with the marketing as well, and get your pearls of wisdom out to as many people as possible. So thanks so much. It's really been insightful, and it's been a good. It's pity I'm going to miss you in the UK, but we kind of swapping paths. I'm going to be down there, and you're going to be here. So, but hopefully, at Indaba we'll catch up.
Good. We'll be there. We're going in full force.
Good.
We'll be on the Agile stand. We'll be on the Zoom stand. There'll be actually a few desks on the Zoom stand, and there'll be 5 of us there. So most definitely, Graham, we shall be sharing a cold beverage with you.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Ross. We'll see you soon, and enjoy your trip, and all the best. We'll catch up soon. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you, Graham.
Comment.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into KuzaCast, where we explore the world of tourism with leaders from all corners of the globe. Join me, Graham Watson, for future episodes as we dive into the latest trends and insights from the industry. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating, and we'll see you next time on KuzaCast.